Hi, this is Dizzy, and I want to talk about the murder of Chelsea Patrick and her friend Charity by a woman whose last name is McIntyre. And I also want to discuss why you probably haven't heard of this case. Chelsea Patrick was born in August of 1990 and was killed in September of 2011. I don't know the exact date of Charity's birth or her last name. And part of this is because I can't find the proper photos of the gravestones, as well as the fact that there's almost nothing about this case on the internet anymore whatsoever, and there only was briefly. Chelsea Patrick was in foster. She was adopted to her aunt and then moved from Louisiana to Mississippi around 2006, 7, maybe even later. No, definitely before 2007. And she came back in 2009 or 2010. And she lived in Delhi, and that is a very small town in Louisiana. The graveyard for Delhi is generally in Epps. Very small town, very rural, not someplace you would even recognize if you had never been to a place like this. And she was living with her, I believe, biological mother at this point. I don't know much about Charity's personality, but I do know Chelsea herself was the type of person who was extremely innocent, extremely naive, extremely gullible, saw the best in people, etc. So in September, shortly after Chelsea's birthday, she and Charity, who were friends, went to see Charity's ex-girlfriend, who is McIntyre. And I'm going based on memory due to the lack of information, because a lot of the articles were deleted from 2011. McIntyre was at the time, I believe, 44. Maybe she was in her 30s, but I think she was in her 40s, and this was the ex of Charity. And the story was pitched as a lover's quarrel in which McIntyre was jealous that Charity was with Chelsea. Charity and Chelsea were not together. She shot Charity, and then as Chelsea was running, she was shot once in the back, and then she turned to protect her face, was shot through the hands into the face. And then McIntyre walked up to the police in Richland Parish area, Delhi Epps, and said, I just shot 2 people. And she was later convicted of double homicide, and I again was looking for more information on her sentencing, but she got life. I mean, come on. The way this story was covered, especially for small town Louisiana, was gross. They speculated that an engaged woman, Chelsea, was in a relationship with Charity openly, which in a small town, that's postmortem slander, especially because Chelsea was bi-curious. She did not deserve to be outed like that. As far as Charity goes, I hope she was out and that this didn't cause a lot of havoc for her family when it was covered like this. And there is no sympathy in small town South for lover quarrels that involve lesbian triangles. And they said lesbian love triangles in these articles that are now deleted. I need to use Wayback Machine. At the time Chelsea and Charity were killed, I was actually in a long distance relationship with Chelsea. She was my best friend from when I was 11 on up until she was killed when I was 19, so 19. We reconnected in 2010 after I dropped out. She moved back to Louisiana, and she expressed some bi-curiosity. But she was engaged, I was in a relationship, so we just had our friendship with sprinkles, essentially. Um, but she wasn't dating Charity, as far as I know. If she was, she still didn't deserve to be shot by a woman twice her age, and neither did Charity. As much as I don't know the girl, I did go leave flowers at both their graves 2011, when I went back from New York to Louisiana for my birthday. I spent a good portion of that time, about an hour and a half out from where I'm from to Delhi, where I used to go hang out with Chelsea. So all these articles and news stories, you can Google all these names. Richland Parish, I believe her name is Tina, but I could be wrong. Mcintyre pleads guilty, double homicide, Louisiana, Chelsea, Patrick, Charity. You can Google all these words, click on them, and you'll see, but there's no article there. They deleted them. And as someone from small town Louisiana, yes, I now live in Chicago, they did it because they don't want lesbian love triangle to be in their news. And also, I know Chelsea's family, like her sisters and stuff, and I think they may have gotten backlash from the families. That may be why they were taken down, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to know why it's so hard to find her information, McIntyre's information. I can find almost any of my old friends' arrest records and stuff from Louisiana. I'm actually pretty good at that stuff because sometimes I have to be sure, okay, is this family member dead or are they in jail? That's just a situation when you come from my family, I guess. So, this was definitely a spur of the moment homicide, double homicide, where two innocent people who were just coming over to say hi and hang out were murdered because someone with impulse control problems had a gun. Now, I like guns. I am pro-gun. After this happened, I had a hard time with guns because I went to Israel and they had bullets as necklaces and stuff, and that's part of the tourist thing. And I would see bullets, and this was just a few months after my best friend was murdered. I would see these bullets, and I was like normally that would be something I would like, and I was kind of freaked out at the time. It took years for Chelsea to get a proper headstone. She and Charity both had the little plastic stick things. I actually found out after Rosh Hashanah, I turned all my stuff back on because at the time I was Orthodox and didn't use electronics. You know, Chelsea and I, when we realized I wasn't going to have my apartment anymore, I could either move in with her and her mom, and that would have been awkward, or I could go to New York and, you know, go down my path of discovering my true self. Yeah, I was 19. And I can't help but think that if I had stuck around or moved in with her, she never would have been in that place. Or it would have been a triple homicide. So, there's always that in the back of my mind, even though it's been quite a few years. The way small towns cover things is so gross sometimes, and the fact that they went behind themselves and deleted their articles on this murder irks me. And the fact that it's hard to find even the perp's first name. I did know it. I do believe it starts with a T. I think it's Tina, but I could be wrong. She murdered two girls half her age who were beginning their lives. You know, one was getting engaged and looking forward to having kids. She missed out on being a godmother of my kid. And she was the type of person who would literally never harm anyone. I imagine Charity was probably similar, but from what Chelsea described her as, when we would hang out at the Louisiana waterfall, if I can find a picture, I'll post it at the end of this, but the fact that she was someone who was very close to me, and I'm a very abrasive person. I was kind of like a protector. So the fact that she got murdered and I was in New York irks me because since age 11 I've been I was her protector, kind of, because people would hone in on the fact that she was a little bit gullible and bully her, and I can throw a punch. So while I'm glad the person did turn themselves in and they're in prison forever where they belong, because if they ever get out, they're in danger, I know how to use a gun too. I don't care if you quote me on that. I don't care. I think anyone who watched this, law enforcement or not, would understand where I'm coming from with that. But again, the fact that all the articles on this are gone, the fact that their deaths were like erased to everyone but their families, irks me a bit. This was a double homicide, a brutal double homicide, because someone had an impulse control problem. And now two people and everyone who cares about them are changed forever, and for them, they have nothing. They were very young. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Chelsea, I believe, would be like turning 30, maybe 31. She was a little older than me. We were kind of funny together because I was like shorter than her and had muscles and was like angry, and she was like tall and real skinny and just like very sweet. So it was kind of funny to see us together. It probably could have been a sin. Anyway, because there's so little information about this murder out there anymore, I wanted to cover it. I wanted to bring attention to it. If you want to research it on your own, if you can find any more information or like an address where I could write the person, usually I can find that stuff for myself, but if you want to look into it, there was slander involved in the covering of this case, and I just really don't want the fact that this homicide happened to be forgotten. But I'm sorry I don't have pictures of Charity. I can't find her Facebook where I would include them, but here is some pictures of my best friend, and thanks for watching, everyone.